Brian Susko, Lawley Drive, Turnpike Gardens. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm again here to talk about the sale of the land and the proposed closure of the community pool Bel Air. I'll stay within 5 minutes. The pre-read was 4 minutes and 32 seconds. So no need for the stage hook today, I promise. Last week at Citizens Night, I shared my thoughts and gave details on why I think the sale of the land in 2019 doesn't seem necessary. I won't go into all the details again today, but would like to highlight some of the previous comments here today. To sum up the situation, in 2018, the Turnpike's milepost 57 to 67 reconstruction project was awarded funding, and in order for that project to be completed, they would need to purchase the land on or around Bel Air pool area. They have the right to condemn the land and threaten eminent domain. However, they have not done so to date and have offered the appraisal price of $956,000 for the land with some additional payments for relocation of the trailers, among other things. Today, you're here to vote on whether to finalize that sale as of around September of this year. However, since the appraisal process started, the project itself has lost funding, and this funding is only revisited on an annual basis. So just as the Turnpike has stalled on funding for the project, the conversation about the sale of the land should also be stalled. The Turnpike is not threatening eminent domain at this time, and according to Kevin Surge, the lead engineer of the Turnpike project, the only thing that would be lost would be the appraisal process at this point, which could easily be repeated once the project is funded in the future. Now, there's no way of knowing when the Turnpike will fund the project, but as a precedent, Plum sold the land that held Plum Aqua Club to the Turnpike in September of 2017. The funding for that project still has not come in for the mainline construction, and only the Salzburg Road construction has been started, which started this year in 2019. So the land has been sitting there for around 2 years, and the project is still not have funding assigned to it. Last week, I also went into detail on why the money from the sale of the land would not solve any of the municipality's problems, and I mean truly solve the problems for the long term, including our need for improved infrastructure. As I stated last week, the one-time sale is not a steady revenue stream, it's a Band-Aid on a broken arm. It just seems to me that there's no legal reason to sell the land to the Turnpike this year. There also seems to be no financial reason to sell the land this year. Voting today to not sell the land until the Turnpike has funded their project and is ready to use the land would buy ourselves some time to come up with a plan on what to do after the sale. But there's no reason to lose the use of Bel Air while we devise that plan if the land can't be used for the Turnpike project at this time. Mr. Mayor, you mentioned last week that you were going to talk to the private pool owners, the board members and the presidents, and about options about the area. And I gave details on possible funding options to build a new pool, including DCNR grants and sponsorships. These conversations just started and will take some time to discuss and plan. Either way we go. Not selling the land this year buys us that time to create a plan before the sale. And I do believe, as Paige stated, we should have a plan in place before the sale is finalized. In my opinion, voting to sell the land today tells the community that we just want to get this over with. I've heard comments that Monroeville just wants to get out of the pool business. And I want to be clear, that's not a quote from the members of the council. It's just comments that I hear over and over again when I discuss the situation with others. Maybe that's the case, maybe not. But Monroeville has been in the pool business for decades. And for the most part, Bel Air has been self-sufficient, basically breaking even most years plus or minus a trivial amount. We have not discussed selling the land before the Turnpike came to us for funding, with funding in 2018, at least not to the extent where an appraisal was executed as far as I understand it. So now that funding for the project is no longer there, we're back to where we were in 2018. The Turnpike does not need the land at this time, and the land that holds a community asset that so many people count on, we'd be losing it for no reason. The only real reason to sell the land, as I see it, would be to play nice with the Turnpike and make sure that they have the land when funding comes through, perhaps next year, perhaps in 2 to 5 years' time. If this was an empty lot somewhere in the middle of the woods, playing nice would be a fine option. But losing our community pool just to let the Turnpike get a head start on land purchases before they have the money to do anything with it would be choosing to make the Turnpike Commission happy over the citizens of Monroeville. Now, I'm not advocating playing hardball with the Turnpike. The construction projects benefit the area. More lanes on the Turnpike at certain times of day and certain times of year would be a good thing. But in my opinion, this is teetering on Monroeville being taken advantage of. A statement of the Turnpike that says, make a statement to the Turnpike today that says, we'll sell you the land when the project is ready to use it. That's a fair ask in any negotiation. But until then, we have to protect a community asset for our citizens. The statement can be made today by voting no to sell the land this year or any year when the project that it needs does not have the money to use it. Thank you for your time.